Today we're going to start learning about multiplying polynomials. And just as a reminder to you, polynomials are expressions with two or more terms. Poly means many, so polynomial is many terms. So we'll use these words interchangeably, polynomial or binomial. The binomial is two terms, bi means two terms, or a trinomial, which is three terms, or sometimes we'll just call it a polynomial. It could be either two or three or more terms. And what we're going to do is we're going to start multiplying them using the box method. The box method, some of you guys will recognize it. It's very similar to Punnett squares in biology, but we're going to use the box method in order to multiply polynomials. So over here on the left, we have the steps. So I'm going to move that up to the top. So our steps, first thing we do is we start out by drawing our box. If we're multiplying two binomials, so a 2 by 2, we would put a 2 by 2 box. 2 across, 2 up and down, just like the example. So here we've got our 2 by 2 box. Then I'm going to just keep following through this example. Step 2 says I need to write one polynomial across the top. So I'm going to write this first one across the top. So that's going to be 2x. Let's make this bigger. It's going to be 2x plus 4. Plus 4. And the other one down the left side, so 3x plus 5. I'm going to go ahead and put the plus 4 and the plus 5 so I'll know that that's a positive 4 and a positive 5. So now that I've done step 2, I've put my one binomial across the top and one going down the left side. Now I'm going to multiply and fill in the boxes. So just like when you're multiplying area, we're going to do straight across into this box, straight up and down. So it's going to be 3x times 2x. So I'm going to write that over here. 3x times 2x. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then we have x times x. So we have x to the power of 2. So you'll have to kind of remember your exponent rules as well. Okay, next I've got 3x. I'm going to go to this box, so it's times 4. So 3x times 4 would be 12x. Next I want to go to this box, so it's 5 times 2x. So 2x times 5 is 10x. And then my very last box right here is going to be 5 times 4, which is 20. Okay, so now I have multiplied and filled in the boxes. That would be step 3. Okay, so now I'm going to move this up a little bit. So now we're down to step 4. Step 4 says that we need to combine the X boxes. So let's look at the pattern, because learning the pattern of this box is really going to help. We've got a 6x squared in this first box. If you notice, there's no other x squareds in any of the boxes. And then in this last box, we have just a plain old number. It's the only one. But what we have here diagonally are like terms. We have positive 10x and positive 12x. So when you circle them, they kind of look like a peanut, so we call that the peanut pair. And when you're doing this box method, it's always going to be the same pattern. The first box and the last box don't have any pairs. And then the other diagonal, that peanut pair, is always like terms. If for some reason they're not like terms, you need to go back and check your math, because that's the pattern. It'll always be like terms. Okay. So let's go ahead and combine our 10x and our 12x. That's going to be 22x. So now we can just write the whole thing, write our answer. the first box plus our peanut pair is 22x plus 20. That's our answer. Okay, so now let's just go and do some practice and work through some of the different situations that come up. The big thing I want you to pay attention to while we're doing this is the pattern, because it's always the same. So let's make it bigger. Okay, so number one, we're actually going to look at having a minus sign instead of a plus sign. So step one says that we draw a box based on our problems. So we have 2 by 2. So I drew a 2 across and a 2 stack box. So I have a 2 by 2 box. Second step says I write one polynomial across the top. So I'm going to write x minus 2, and the other one down the left side, x minus 1. It doesn't matter which one I put on top, which one I put on the side, as long as they're both part of the same pair. Okay, so step 3 says multiply and fill in the boxes. So I'm going to start with this first box, which is x times x. So x times x would be x to the second power. Now my next box right here is going to be x times negative 2. That would be negative 2x. And my third box right here is going to be negative 1 times x, because that's where those two intersect. So that's going to be negative 1x. I'm not going to write the 1. And then my last box right here is going to be negative 1 times negative 2, which happens to be positive 2. Okay, so notice the pattern. My first box and my last box don't have anything alike. So that's my first term of the answer, my last term of the answer. So I can go ahead and put those in. So my first term and my last term, plus 2. And then all I've got to do is my peanut pair, which I'm combining like terms. So negative 1 plus negative 2 is going to be negative 3. So minus 3x. And that's my answer. Okay, let's go on to number 2. Number 2, looks like we're combining one negative and one positive. So step 1 says to draw my box. I see that I have a 2 by 2, so I've drawn a 2 by 2 box. Step 2 says to write one polynomial across the top. So I'm going to write b minus 3. Notice that the minus 3 really just turns that into a negative 3 on top. And then b plus 2. All right, step 3 says multiply and fill in the boxes. So first box I want to do is right here, which is going to be b times b. So that's b to the second power. And I want to do this box here, so it's going to be b times negative 3, which will be negative 3b. Then I want to do this box, so it's going to be b times 2, which is 2b. And then my last box over here is going to be positive 2 times negative 3. So that's going to be negative 6. Okay, notice the pattern. I got my first term, no like terms with it, and my last term. So let's go ahead and write them. My first term and my last term. And then all I have to do is fill in my peanut pair. So if I look, my diagonal box, always the same place, is my peanut pair. That's my like terms. And I've got positive 2b plus negative 3b. So positive 2b plus negative 3b is going to be negative 1b, or just minus, I'm not going to write the 1, so minus b minus 6. So yeah, my 6 kind of looks like there, that's a 6. Okay, and that's my answer. So let's look at number 3. Okay, in number 3, what we've done is we've added a coefficient to one of our a terms. So I still have a 2 term times 2 terms, so a 2 by 2 box. And then step 2 says to write one polynomial across the top. So I'm going to put a minus 1 and 2a plus 5. Okay, so I've written my terms. Step 3 says to multiply. So I'm going to start here, the first box. 2a times a would be 2a squared. Okay, my second box right here is going to be 2a times negative 1 is negative 2a. My third box right here is going to be 5 times a, which is 5a. And my last box right here is going to be 5 times negative 1, which is negative 5. Notice the pattern. My first term doesn't have anything like it, and my last term doesn't have anything like it. So I'm going to go ahead and put them there. Got my first term, 2a squared, and my last term, minus 5. And then I'm going to go ahead and find my peanut pair right here in the diagonal. Circle my peanut pair. 5a plus negative 2a is positive 3a. And that's my answer. Okay, let's look at number 4. I want you to try number 4 on your own. When you finish it, pause the video and come back and check it. Okay, so when you were doing number 4, what you noticed was the peanut pair zeroed out. So I went ahead and just put in purple right there a 0x so you could see it zeroed out. So I don't need the 0x. So my answer is x squared minus 25. Okay, and let's look at number 5. Number 5, the thing about it is they haven't really written it out for me. They said x plus 5 squared. But you got to remember what that means. What that really means is just x plus 5, the parentheses written 2 times. So now it's just x plus 5 times x plus 5. So go ahead and work that out and then turn the video back on and make sure you got the right answer. Okay, the answer is x squared plus 10x plus 25. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the page. Now on this page, we're really doing the same thing, but we're going to actually have our first time where we've got a binomial times a trinomial. So I need a 2 by 3 box. I'll go ahead and make this bigger so I can see. Okay, so a 2 by 3 box. Once you've drawn your 2 by 3 box, it makes it really easy to see where the 2 go and where the 3 go. So I'm going to go ahead and do step 2, which I'm going to write my 2-place binomial here, d plus 3. Then up here I'm going to write d squared minus 4d plus 1. Okay, so we've got everything labeled on our boxes. Our next step is to begin multiplying and filling in our boxes. So let's start with this first one, d times d squared. I'm just going to write this up here so you can kind of remember it. It's d times d squared equals d to the 3rd power. So d to the 3rd power. Okay, now I'm going to do this next box. It's going to be d times negative 4d. So d times negative 4d is negative 4d times d is d to the 2nd power. And then my third box. I'm going to go methodically here. So it's d times 1, which is just d. Now let's go to this box here at the bottom row. And I've got 3 times d squared. So that's 3d squared. Now we're going to go to this box, so that's going to be 3 times negative 4d. So that's going to be negative 12d. And then our very last box here is just going to be 3 times 1. So 3. Okay, let's notice the pattern here. The pattern is the same. Our first box, if you notice, has no like terms. Our last box also has no like terms. So we can go ahead and write our first term and our last term. But now look, we've got 2 peanut pairs. So instead of just having 1 peanut pair, we've got 2 peanut pairs. So I'm going to start with my first one, which would be my d squareds. They're still diagonal, they're still in the shape of a peanut. Okay, and then look, I have another one. So my second peanut pair, I'm going to make them green, is my d to the first powers. So there's my 2 peanut pairs. So I'm going to go ahead and just combine my first set of peanut pairs. I've got 3d squared plus negative 4d squared. That comes out to negative 1d squared. So I'm going to just say minus d squared. Okay, that's that peanut pair. Now my second peanut pair is negative 12d plus d. So that's going to be minus 11d. And that is the answer. D to the third power minus d to the second power minus 11d plus 3. Okay, so let's go to number 7. I'm going to pause the video and let you work this one out on your own. When you get your answer, start the video up and check your results. Okay, check your answer. Notice that you've got 2 sets of peanut pairs again. And let's move on to the next one. The next one is actually just putting it into a real life situation where they've given us a rectangle and want to know the area. And if you remember, area is just length times width. So we're going to write it as 2 binomials, and we will write our 2 by 2 box and solve it. So pause the video and turn it back on to check your answer. Okay, and our answer is 2x squared plus x minus 45. Now the last thing is just asking if there's a way you could check your answer when you're multiplying binomials or any time you're writing what's called an equivalent expression. So let me run this idea by you. Let's take the one we just did. Take the 2x minus 9 times x plus 5. And then the answer that we got, let's go back and make sure I get it right. The answer that we got was 2x squared plus x minus 45. What if we were to put these into the calculator under y1 and y2? So put them in the y equals key under y1 and y2, and then I want you to pull up the table. And if your tables are exactly the same, then you know they're equivalent and you did it correctly. If your tables are not, go back and check your math and figure out what you did wrong. If you have any more questions on this, I will see you in tutoring.